I lived in Medellin, Colombia for 6 months in total. And to be honest, I will always be grateful for that experience back in 2022 because it's where I got my initial feet wet living in Latin America and traveling. And it's also where I met some like minded people and made some initial friendships as well. But again, that was back in 2022, and I haven't been back since. So that probably tells you something. So in this video, I'm gonna share what I've learned after living half a year in Medellin, Colombia, so that you know exactly what to expect before visiting or making the move. And if you're new here, I'm Alex. On this channel, I share everything that I've learned on leaving the West and living an ideal life in Latin America. So if that sounds interesting to you, then be sure to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Here's what we will cover in today's video. We're going to go into affordability. Is Medellin still affordable? We're going to go into dating as a man. We're going to get into safety. Is it safe to live in Medellin? We're going to get into the weather. I'm going to go into who I'd recommend Medellin for. And then I'll give you my final verdict. Would I actually stay here for an extended period of time or live here? All right, so let's dive in. So Medellin is more affordable than the US and more affordable than cities like Boston, where I'm from, of course. But it may not be as cheap as you think. All right. Now, one of the biggest reasons people do come to Medellin, like a lot of people from Miami spend time in Medellin, is because it is much more affordable than there. But if you want to live like a king here, it's going to be relatively expensive than a lot of other cities in Latin America. So rents are going to vary by the neighborhood, okay? Most people come to Poblado, which is where I stayed my first month here as well. And I did another video on this. If you missed it, go to my full cost of living breakdown. Check out that video to go over the numbers in a little more detail. But you're looking at around 1,000 to 1,600 for a respectable one bedroom in Poblado, all right? If you go to another neighborhood called Laureles, you're looking at a little bit less, but you're still paying about 800 to 1,200 for a mid-range apartment. And then obviously you can go cheaper. Really, you can live any type of lifestyle you want, you know. But if you're going cheaper, you're probably living outside the best neighborhoods, outside the safer neighborhoods, and you're going to be spending still about 400, 800 per month for an apartment. All right, eating out, depending on the neighborhood, is going to vary quite a bit too. Like if you're in Poblado, eating out there is going to be pretty costly, similar to what you might pay in a lot of states. But if you go to other neighborhoods like Laureles or Sabaneta, even Envigado, you'll be paying less for eating out and groceries. Ubers are affordable. The cool thing about Medellin is there is a metro or public transport, a train that's really efficient and it's really clean. And it's probably been the best form of transportation that's not Uber in a Latin American city that I've experienced. Okay, there are other cities that have transportation or trains, right? But Medellin is really good. And a lot of people that live here, or a lot of people that live Medellin who are expats for travelers, do use the metro system. All right, it's not like it's only for the locals. It is definitely for everyone. Keep that in mind when roaming around Medellin, whether you're in Laureles, Poblado, Envigado, Sabaneta. That train system is going to come in handy whenever you want to go to different neighborhoods. So to live like a king here, which is what I usually look for in a city, I want to know how much or how affordable is it going to be to live like a king, to live in the higher echelon of that society, right? In the best neighborhood, in the best part of the city, in the best part of the country many times. How much is it going to take? Right. And for here in Medellin, you're probably looking at least 3,500, probably closer to 4,500 a month. Again, I'm talking if you're living in a really nice modern one bedroom apartment in the best part of the city, you're going to be looking to spend about around this much. If you have an active dating life, an active social life, you're living like a king, right? You're probably going to spend on average about 4,000 a month. That's just my opinion from what I've seen, from experience, from my research, from other people that live there. I know a lot of people that live in Medellin. Compared to other cities, you'll only need about 2,500 or even less. All right. So definitely much more expensive than other places that you go to, but still more affordable than a place like Miami or Boston or New York or LA. And you get the point. All right. The next thing that I've learned after half a year in Medellin is a gringo vortex. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, it's a hub. It's a place where a lot of travelers, foreigners, expats are based out of, or where a lot of people pass through as well. Okay. So you'll meet a lot. Here are some pros to that. You'll meet a lot of like-minded people, and you can easily make friendships compared to other cities, right? Because you just have a lot more volume. Now, many people don't speak Spanish in this city. Like just in my small community, I do remote sales for work, by the way. There's a big remote sales community in Medellin right now. And a lot of those people I know for a fact don't speak any Spanish, or if they do, it's very basic Spanish. And they live there for months out of the year. All right. So Spanish is definitely not a must in this city. So that's good. That's a good thing if you're someone who doesn't speak any Spanish at all, right? Where you might struggle in a city such as could be like a Cali, Colombia, or a Bucaramanga, or even a Barranquilla. If you're Spanish, if you speak no Spanish at all, you might struggle in those cities. But Medellin is not like that. You can definitely easily make friends. You can definitely get by with just speaking English. It's also great for networking opportunities. There are, like, if you're someone who doesn't have any remote income, you're not a digital nomad just yet. If you were to take trips to Medellin and just do some networking, you'll meet a bunch of digital nomads. So that's going to do a few things. It's going to inspire you to start your own business or start your own remote work somehow, right? Learn a valuable skill. You'll see that it's possible. You'll see that it's real. You'll see that people are actually doing it. And you might even be able to form some partnerships or form some relationships that you might be able to work for someone, whether it's in sales or copywriting or whatever the skill is. You'll have a lot more opportunities because you're meeting people face to face and you're interacting with them. So those are some really big pros. Like if I was a beginner, if I was just brand new to travel, if I didn't have any remote income, I would take trips to Medellin and I would just network my ass off, to be honest with you. I would just network as much as I can. And I would meet a bunch of people. I'd get inspired and I'd build relationships and eventually work for some people while I'm living there, probably. Maybe I'd look to spend as little as possible and really just build up my remote skill set so that I can be able to travel and live anywhere in the world, right? That's for someone who has no remote experience at all. Now, some cons are if you're someone who already has remote income or a business, right? It's going to be higher cost of living compared to other cities that you have access to. So you're not getting the most bang for your buck in this city. If you're a single guy, dating is definitely not favorable for you in the city because of the amount of foreigners. So dating is not as favorable as it is in other cities that I'll probably do another video on for sure. So that's a con. And it's not authentic. It's not an authentic Colombian city, in my opinion. Medellin is definitely not Colombia. All right. So if you want to have that more authentic experience, if you want to really experience the culture, you got to get out of Medellin and you got to go travel and you got to expand your horizons. And thank God that I did that. Okay. Because I know a lot of people who stay in Medellin and live there for years. And I met some really cool people, really competent people in sales. They have their own businesses. They've never freaking left Medellin. And I almost did that myself because when you have a pretty decent network there, or you meet some like-minded people, these are cool guys, right? Maybe you're dating someone that you like too. It's gonna motivate you to want to stay. You feel like you like, why would I leave, right? But trust me, there are better spots. There is brighter horizons outside of Medellin. So don't be that guy that stays there. Well, you can do whatever you want, but I would strongly recommend that once you get to Medellin, if you know you're going to Medellin, then be sure to check out other cities in Colombia and hopefully other countries, in Latin America as well. So I'm going to say something that might be considered controversial. Medellin is a door or a city that you pass through, but it's not a house that you live in. That's just my opinion. This is not where you want to live or base as an expat. This is where you want to visit initially, okay? Like I said, if you don't speak any Spanish, if you've never been to Latin America, if you've never been abroad, then go to Medellin, get your feet wet, check it out, meet some people, get inspired. Other cities you can probably do this with is Mexico City, Lima, Peru, even Buenos Aires, even though I think Mexico City or Medellin are going to be a lot more simpler, a lot more convenient because of the flights, because of the expenses, that sort of thing. But again, don't make the mistake. People get stuck in this city and they never venture out to more cities. I would definitely not recommend that. So be sure to travel to more places. What that's going to do, it's going to help you learn more about you, right? You're going to learn what you like. You're going to learn what you don't like. You can always come back to Medellin, just like if you're someone who goes abroad, you can always come back to the United States, but at least broaden your horizons, see what's out there and learn more about yourself. So that's why I'd recommend definitely going to more places. All right, so dating and social life in Medellin. Now, dating in Medellin can be good. I mean, it has probably some of the most beautiful women in the world, right? But there are some things that you want to be aware of. So because there are so many foreigners, because it is such a touristy city, dating isn't going to be as favorable compared to other cities that I can do other videos on and will do other videos on. Many foreigners, unfortunately, come here for pay to play, which I think ruins a dating market if you're a single guy. So that's an unfortunate part of Medellin, similar to Cartagena. There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of women of the night, let's call it. So places to avoid if you're coming here and if that's a big turnoff for you, which I'm assuming if you're watching this video probably is. Parque Lleras is where that happens a lot. El Poblado is where a lot of people stay that come for that. So just get outside these areas. Again, that's another thing. If you're in Medellin, if you want to have a good dating life, if you want to have an authentic experience, get outside Poblado. All right, get outside Laureles. Go to Envigado. Go to Sabaneta. Right, go to some of these other neighborhoods. Maybe even Bejo. I know some people. I know some friends that lived in Bejo and they had a good experience there. It's not as safe, but get outside the touristy area. I think you have a much better experience and a much better dating life. Now, as far as safety, yeah, let's talk safety because Medellin has improved, but you still need to be aware of your surroundings. All right. When I was in Medellin, there was multiple people that got robbed and killed even when I was there. And it was only a few blocks away from where I lived. So I lived in Poblado. I then went to Laureles, and it happened when I was in Laureles, where there was an Asian guy from California. And this was well known even in the U.S. This was a big deal when it happened. He got scopolamined in Laureles, and what that means is a girl basically drugged him, and she overdrugged him, and it was a Tinder date, and he ended up dying. And this has happened multiple times, all right? And it happened multiple times while I was there. So I think this happens to guys who are desperate for women and who are desperate to get laid. So don't be that guy. If you're on Tinder, if you're on Bumble, if you're on these dating apps and a girl wants to come back to your place, use common sense. All right. Don't be that guy who's desperate to get laid. I also saw a murder scene in Poblado, right? So it was a stabbing. Now it had nothing to do with a tourist or anything like that. It was amongst local Colombians, but still, like a murder scene, people dying while I was there. This is while I was there, so I can't say it's a safe city. I felt safe. I didn't have anything, luckily, like any bad experiences. I felt safe while I was there, but you got to be careful. So I will say, like, to start, I lived in Poblado. Again, this is the touristy area. It has pros and cons, as I mentioned. I prefer Laureles over Poblado, but then I prefer Sabaneta over Laureles. So these areas are going to be generally safe. I would say Laureles and Sabaneta are even safer than Poblado. Even Rio Negro, even get outside the city. Like if you want cooler weather, if you want more of an authentic experience, check out Rio Negro. I did another video on that, which I'll probably post soon, on farm life there and more like rural life. But the Rio Negro is a decent sized city as well, where you can, a lot of people end up living there too. So in summary, although Medellin, it is a huge touristy area, it is safe in my opinion. Be careful because there are things like this that still happen there. So use common sense, don't be desperate, and don't be flashy. Now, weather's the one thing in Medellin that, man, it is on point. It is perfect. Aside from a couple months out of the year. So when I got to Medellin, it was October. I remember October, November, it was raining just about every day. So if you're someone who, well, obviously you're going to be walking around, right? You're probably not going to have a car. If you're someone who likes to do co-working, keep in mind you're going to be walking, with your backpack. The rainy season is not ideal, but the weather is pretty much on point. We're talking mid 70s, high 70s all year round, Fahrenheit, mid 20s Celsius. Like I said, it rains a lot during these 2 months, makes it tough to walk around and maybe do some co-working. The other thing is it does get very hilly in some areas. So it's best to be in flat areas, in my opinion. That's what I prefer. But I can't complain about the weather. The weather here, like I said, it's spring season all year round. That's a huge plus in Medellin. All right, so who do I think Medellin is for? I think Medellin is a great place to get your feet wet with travel in Latin America or in general. Because if you're from the States or Canada, it's really a quick flight. It's not that expensive to get to Medellin. It's really simple, which is why a lot of people go there. And it's a great place to, if you don't know any Spanish, right? It's a great place to broaden your horizons, to get your feet wet, to really pop your cherry when it comes to travel. And because there are so many foreigners here, it's easier to acclimate. Like I said, if you don't speak Spanish, if you're new to travel, there is a huge digital nomad hub here. A lot of sales guys. There's a huge community here for that, remote sales guys. And To be honest, I'd probably start here just to meet like-minded people and make some friends that you probably have for the rest of your life. So if you're someone who's brand new, if you don't speak Spanish, check out Medellin. Now, here's my final verdict. Would I live here, or would I even base here? Or would I spend any time here at all? Like I said, I think Medellin is a great place to visit and get your feet wet. And I am so glad that I decided to travel to more cities and not get stuck in Medellin like so many expats do, like some friends that I met there who are still there, like they do. So I would definitely visit and get my feet wet. However, I wouldn't live here. Okay. I prefer less touristy cities. I prefer more of an authentic vibe. I prefer better cost of living, and I prefer better dating prospects and having a better dating life than places like than Medellin. So would I return? Absolutely. I would definitely return. But I would do so for networking and business purposes, because this is a hub for digital nomads, for remote business owners. You can meet a lot of cool people here who are doing really cool things with business and making money. So great place to make some connections. Like I said, I know a lot of sales and business people who live here, but I would probably stay for 1 week, 2, maybe 4 weeks maximum. All right. It is a tourist attraction, then more of a home base or even a second base for me. Like I said, maximum 2 to 4 weeks in Medellin for networking purposes. And aside from that, not a place that I would spend long-term again. So I hope that video was helpful for you guys. Like I said, after 6 months of living in Medellin, this is really more of a place to get started with your travel and to really build some confidence in the beginning. If you're someone who speaks no Spanish, if you're someone who has never been abroad before, start there, but don't spend your entire travel there. Okay, definitely check out more cities. I'd probably go to Mexico after Medellin, check out some cities around there, get your feet wet a little more, and then you can go to more authentic places, which I'll cover in future videos. And by the way, if you missed my full cost of living video in Medellin, be sure to check that one out so you know what to expect in terms of what you'll be paying here when you do come. And if you want to know exactly where I would live if I were to do it all over again, then be sure to check out my next video that's coming out on best neighborhoods and places to stay in Medellin. So that's it for today's video, guys. If this video was valuable for you, be sure to give it a like and be sure to subscribe for future content specific to Latin American cities.